the greatest and last investigative journalist, and you may have heard me say he is the funniest too, and that is because he is. Together with me, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will be Greg Palast on Tuesday, May 1st, 7 o'clock at the Community Church of New York. If you're in New York, join us there. It's 40 East 35th Street. Why am I? It's like blocks away from my house. It's like I could walk. I am going to walk there, actually. Hi, Greg. How are you?
35th and Madison, and then we'll all get together at your house. Everyone's invited, right?
No, but that is a beautiful, beautiful block because I live there. I know. But anyway, so that's where we'll be on May 1st, and we're getting together to talk about sordid secrets of a White House gone wild.
Right. We're launching the new edition of Armed Madhouse, and you get tickets. A cheap donation for community radio at www.gregpalast.com.
Yeah, so, I can tell you're very comfortable with the promotion thing. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, no, I want people to support this thing. And so Randy and RFK
right.
and...
Listen, I have a very hard time self-promoting, too, because, I have this cruise thing I'm going on August 10th. And
Am I invited?
If you buy a ticket, okay. Yeah, sure. We're going to Alaska, and I keep forgetting to tell people to come join. Self-promotion is very difficult, so let me do it for you. Greg has just re-released Armed Madhouse, but it's a paperback edition, and it's got a new chapter in it, and this is what I want to talk to him about today. It's called The Scheme to Swipe 2008. Now, I don't know, I know you're not in town today, but I have been talking about this Alberto Gonzalez thing and how 72 I don't recalls leads me to believe what you and I had talked about in the first place, and that was that the reason why the Attorney General didn't know why the 8 U.S. attorneys were fired is because he had nothing to do with firing them, that it was really done by the political advisor inside the White House, Karl Rove, in an effort to stack the deck for 2008. And I thought perhaps you'd like to shed some light and expand on that thought for the nice people.
Well, I don't think I should, Randy. Actually, I'm in a basement, I kid you not, a basement in Madison, Wisconsin. Look at this Georgia Thompson case. But the reason I don't think I should say anything is that the House Judiciary just subpoenaed a bunch of emails from Karl Rove, and I kid you not, among those emails are several screeds against that British reporter, Greg Palast, and his book, Armed Madhouse. Mr. Rove, I'm not British, and you're un-American. So let's get that clear. Let's get the facts clear. The other is that he actually said he was gloating because the U.S. media, he said, no U.S. national media has acknowledged the investigations in Armed Madhouse, and he actually had a PDF of part of the book. So you are now breaking the Rove Omerta. So now we're in trouble. We're going to be at the Randi Rhodes wing at Guantanamo next year. But yes, indeed, what is behind the firings, the massacre of December 7th, is the election of 2008. I mean, there's no sense swiping 2000, 2004 if you're just going to give back the White House in 2008. And so what happens is, you've been talking about Tim Griffin. It's not just that they eliminated honest prosecutors. It's who they've put in. Who is this guy, Griffin? Where did they come up with it? You were talking about this guy has no experience doing nothing, nada. I mean, he's parked a few cars. Okay. But
yeah, he's not a prosecutor. I mean, he's never prosecuted a case. He lied.
But
he lied about the fact that he's a prosecutor. He said
you know what?
He said he had prosecuted 40 cases, Greg, and he's prosecuted nothing.
But what he is a persecutor. And let me explain. In the 2004 election, as explained in our Madhouse and in the news section, this is the guy who set up what was called the caging list for Karl Rove, where they sent out hundreds of thousands of letters to black soldiers, black homeless men, and black students and Hispanics. And when the letters didn't come back, you know why when the letters came back to the Republican Party undelivered, you know why? Because they were sent to Baghdad. That's what happens to soldiers. When they were sent to Baghdad and the letters came back undelivered, do not forward, they used that as evidence to challenge the votes of those voters, like Randy Prowse, who was a naval airman out of Florida. He sent in his absentee ballot. His vote was challenged, and it wasn't counted. They had 500,000 challenges to those absentee ballots thrown out, and those ballots were thrown out. You had 3 million challenges to voters when they showed up. This was the game they were playing. And let me tell you, one of the reasons we're going to have Bobby Kennedy with us next Tuesday, is that as Kennedy explained, who's after all, voting rights attorney.
Yeah.
He says, this isn't just creepy, Greg, what you found here. It's, which I did, by the way, for BBC, not some pirate radio station. I mean, he said, what you found was not just creepy, it's illegal. This is a breaking rocks on a chain gang felony crime. And this guy, Griffin, should not be prosecutor because he's the perpetrator. That's what they've done. They've made perpetrators the prosecutors, and he said, and because Rove was in the conspiracy with him, he said, these people really should be in prison. But instead, they are now in charge of the prosecutions, and they're in charge of now, what they're doing now, and this is also in our madhouse, what they're doing now is they were trying to get honest, or semi-honest, U.S. attorneys, because after all, they're Republican, to involve themselves in false prosecution, not just of Georgia Thompson, but hunting down voters. Now, you have to understand, in the book, I talk about speaking with David Iglesias, who was the prosecutor, the U.S. attorney who was fired in New Mexico.
Right.
And what happened there is there was this state legislator, Justine Fox Young, that's her real name, and several other legislators in other states, all holding up pieces of paper saying, we have evidence here, just like Joe McCarthy. We've got evidence in our hand that we have voters voting twice. So we need ideal, and we should prosecute Democrats voting twice. Now, since it was happening in many states at once, I smelled Karl Rove. So I called Justine Fox Young, and I said, you're waving papers in your hands, honey. Can you please fax them?
You didn't say honey.
No, I wouldn't say because she's not that
Yeah,
sweet.
all right, never mind. Don't get yourself into trouble. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Sorry. I said, please send them. And maybe her fax machine was broken. I never got the papers. So I called her and said, I didn't get the papers. You're saying that these people broke a crime and you didn't inform the U.S. attorney? She said, oh, yes, I did. They are prosecuting these evil Democrats, like guys named like Juan Juarez in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So Iglesias said, you know what? There could actually be two guys named Juan Juarez instead of one guy voting twice. No kidding. So I called Iglesias. I called him. I said, and his prosecutor, a guy named Norm Cairns, the transcript's in the book. And I said, so Justine Fox Young said, you have the evidence you're going to prosecute these guys. Well, not really. Not really? Well, do you have an investigation even going of these ne'er-do-wells voting twice? Not really. And I said, so in other words, she's just made it up. And he was silent. I said, now are you telling me that your fellow Republicans, the Rove bots, are simply fabricating evidence that they're waving around about voter fraud? And he was silent. I said, I'll take that as a yes. Now, unfortunately for Mr. Iglesias, Rove read Armed Madhouse, and he was the last name added to the hanging list. Look, I don't have a lot of sympathy for Iglesias. He didn't blow the whistle, and he did say, he didn't blow the whistle until his head was chopped off. Yeah. His career was chopped off. He kept silent that the Rove bots were telling him, and Griffin was telling him, that he had to bring false prosecutions. This is like Soviet stuff, Yeah,
it really.
Like Stalin.
That's what started the show off because Boris Yeltsin died today, and I said the Russians.
But he's living again.
Well, I said the Russians don't tolerate a leader that doesn't drink, and after 6 years of Bush, neither do I. I want somebody that just slams a few. But seriously, David Iglesias today was quoted in McClatchy newspapers saying, if I were Congress, I would say, if the Attorney General doesn't have answers, then who would? There's enough evidence to indicate that Karl Rove was involved up to his eyeballs. Well, now, what's interesting about the little tidbit that you sort of take pride in, as well you should, but that you find difficult because you feel it's self-promotion, because I know you, and I feel your embarrassment when you have to self-promote, same as me. But the truth is, Karl Rove did read Armed Madhouse, and in fact, in some of these emails, he is gloating about the fact that he picked up on your investigation in Armed Madhouse, and thank God not many people have. But the point is that this scheme to put in hand-picked 33-year-old snot-nosed Regent University graduates, one of the least respected law schools in the United States, Pat Robertson's law school, is to pick sycophantic people who won't have to be prodded like Mr. Iglesias to bring false prosecutions, but that you will have willing accomplices who will bring false prosecutions, never have a second thought about it, and won't bitch when they're fired, and that was the problem with Iglesias. Iglesias did take the hit, and he did remain quiet, as did all these Republican appointees. The only time they got a little uppity was when the lame excuse that Alberto Gonzalez gave under